Peggy 18.
Hello everyone and welcome to Community Corner. I'm Jen, community developer on the game. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're taking my own question from our subreddit, which was, which kind of maps would you like to see in Rainbow Six Siege? We got a lot of replies from you, and today we're inviting one of our level designers to discuss the process of making a map and also discuss some of the suggestions you made. Alright, well, hi Gab. So we're going to be discussing, first of all, what's the process of making a map? So how do we get started?
I think the most important thing to do in Rainbow Six when you're building a map is grab a fantasy that really sparks you. The plane was definitely inspired by a real-world event. So I think that's really something we need to nail from the beginning.
Once we have the fantasy, what's next?
Grid block. So we go through that phase where we're just building up this shell and rooms inside and the corridors. So we try to really nail navigation at first through that grid block phase. Then we need to think about what the gameplay is going to be, where the choke points are going to be, where the objectives are going to be. And then we start playing also with destruction, but very lightly, I would say.
So what's the most challenging part of creating maps for Rainbow Six Siege?
I think that's something that comes to mind right away is destruction, because we don't have much to compare with. Mm-hmm. And this brings me to the second point where as designer I can go so far in my map, but then I need to let the player play my map and they have total agency within the map, and the way they're using it and the way they're playing with it, using destruction, repel and all that, they can really do everything they want within that level, and I need to take that into account when I'm building my levels.
So playing around with destruction, we basically start establishing kind of guidelines for ourselves, right?
We come up with stuff we need to follow in terms of rules, but then we like to break them and create interesting twists around them. We never touch the outside shell of a map for destruction. That was one of the guidelines. But then we have two maps like Hereford and Clubhouse, which completely break this set of rules, you know?
Charge going live.
That's really interesting because we're challenging our ideas to try to push some maps to be different and bring something new to the table at the same time.
And I remember you telling me also about how sometimes you would put no destruction in a map. Even though we have that technology, you would think we'd want to put it in, but sometimes maybe it's fun not to.
Yeah, in Bank, the interesting part with Bank was that there's an objective where you have absolutely no destruction within this room, but destruction happens all around it. And so Defender can either turtle this room very strongly with 5 players inside, but then you're vulnerable to grenades attack and stuff like that. So I think that breaking these rules sometimes brings something very interesting to the table.
And sometimes we try to push the boundaries and you tell me sometimes it just doesn't work out. You tried the rappel all the way through a building.
Yeah, we toyed around with the idea of a skyscraper, which is a very interesting idea, and a lot of designers really tried to think this through. But the problem we had with this was that the rappel part, which was really intense, was only at the beginning, where attackers would rappel down for 15 seconds. But then it was kind of hard to balance what the defenders are doing at this point, and how can we really use verticality as a gameplay element, not just as an approach element. So this is definitely something we should put more time into and try to think about it, because it can definitely work out.
And are there any rules that you think we could break in the future, let's say in the post-launch maps?
One thing that we didn't try that much but could be interesting is having somewhat of no exterior. Because every map we have right now, we're spawning outside, approaching the building, but what if you're spawning on the building itself or within the building itself, and there's not much exterior going on? I think that could be something interesting, and then we could take the ideas from consulate, for instance, and add rappel from within the building. Mm-hmm. So that could be something interesting.
All right, well, we'll see what comes next. Thank you so much, Gab.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you want to join the discussion or ask a question, head over to our forums or to our subreddit. See you next time on Community Corner.